And welcome back to the show, everybody. My name is Shane, and you're listening to the Fantasy Football Pros. So Mark is on a little vacay today, so I will be going solo. So this episode is going to be a little bit shorter than normal just because I don't have anybody to converse with. But we're going to be talking about some playoff games. So let's get started with the Bengals and Kansas City. And I think everyone was expecting Kansas City to win, obviously, because you got Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid. You know, they've been here before. They've been to the Super Bowl with this team twice now. Yeah, and they were like the number 3 seed, I believe. I'm sorry, I had that wrong. The Bengals were the 4th seed. Kansas City was the number 2 seed. So it just seemed like it was going to be an obvious win for them. And then when they were coming up, I mean, in the first half, at one point, the game was 21-3, and it was looking really, really ugly. I mean, Kansas City scored on their first drive, which, you know, sometimes when teams do that, they just don't stop that momentum, and they just keep scoring over and over and over again. Like we've seen the Packers do that a lot in the playoffs. Fortunately, both those teams are eliminated now. But yeah, Joe Burrow is just like, he's just so cool and calm. And it's just crazy surprising. So yeah, he was responsible for one of the best finishes in these playoffs so far. And it's just crazy impressive. Joe Burrow went 23 for 38 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had an interception and got sacked once. Joe Mixon got 21 rushes for 88 yards, no touchdowns. T. Higgins got a lot of work because they were focusing on Jamar Chase. So Higgins got 10 targets, 6 catches for 103 yards, while Chase got 9 targets, 6 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. P. Ryan made like a really, really great run. I think that kind of sparked the whole offense in I think it was the first quarter, end of the first quarter, maybe second quarter. But this was when they were down like 21-3, and it was looking real ugly, and it was going to get even uglier. And he was making a good rushing play. They did end up scoring a touchdown on that because of him, and finally, they brought the game back to 10-21. I think Kansas City got the ball back with only like maybe a minute left, and they were marching down the field, and you're like, oh no, come on, don't let them do this. They were like on the 4-yard line with just a few seconds left, and you're like, it's 21-10. It's like if they score again before the half, like this game is going to be over, and it's going to be kind of unwatchable. They do a sweep around play with Tyreek Hill, and he tries to run it in, and the corner that was actually guarding him on the opposite side of the field was able to follow him and make the tackle, which is crazy impressive because we all know that Tyreek Hill is the fastest guy in football. So, as Eli Apple apparently is also up there and one of the fastest players in the NFL. Or he's just one of the smartest, because that was a great play. On Kansas City side of the football, Patrick Mahomes went 26 for 39 for 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, got sacked 4 times, surprisingly, and had 2 interceptions. McKinnon is out here, and he's trying to, I guess, either show Kansas City or other NFL teams that like, hey, I could be a starter still, you know, as long as he stays healthy. He had 12 rushes for 65 yards, which was a 5.4 yards per carry average. He also had 3 catches on 4 targets for 30 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't actually look all that bad, but he's just not getting all that much work because, you know, McKinnon just looks more explosive. Travis Kelce had 11 targets, 10 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill just seemed like he was all over the place. Like they were trying to utilize him everywhere. 10 targets, 7 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. The Bengals made this game really, really exciting. So, you know, Kansas City scored those 3 touchdowns in the first half. And in the second half, they didn't get any touchdowns at all. It's very impressive to shut down Mahomes and Andy Reid like that on this, you know, explosive offense. And because they were only able to hold them down to just a field goal, the Bengals were actually able to come back and tie the game to 24-24, which is just crazy. If you watch the first half that actually think that was going to be the outcome, it's insane. And then we go into overtime, right? And it goes into that big controversy of whoever wins the coin toss wins the game. Which I definitely would say that used to be the case before they had these changes to the rules, where if you got the ball in overtime, you'd march down the field, kick the field goal, win the game, it's over. Which we all agree that's BS because it's so easy to do that compared to actually scoring a touchdown. Anyway, Patrick Mahomes throws an interception. Bengals get the ball, and all the Bengals have to do is just score points. All they have to do is just score points. They win the game. And we all keep talking about, Joe Burrow being such a great leader on this team because he's so cool, calm, and collected. But we have to talk about McPherson, the rookie, who I believe is now 10 for 10 on field goals in the postseason. In this game, he went 4 for 4. His longest was a 52-yard field goal. Had the game-winning field goal in overtime. And I'm sure he said to somebody, he's like, oh, looks like we're going to the Super Bowl before he went out there and got that kick. Just impressive to be a rookie and to be this clutch. It's like he's a veteran already. So for the Bengals to draft this kid and for him to be this talented already, is like that was a great pickup. So who doesn't, like an underdog story? The Bengals are in the Super Bowl. No one would have thought that, right? Not in the beginning of the season, not in the middle, not towards the end, not leading into the playoffs. No one thought they were going to beat the Titans. And definitely no one had them beating Kansas City. I mean, I'm sure there's a few guys out there that mentioned that this could be a good game. But I if you put money on the Bengals, good for you. You got balls of steel. Now let's go over to the 49ers at Rams game. This was a defensive matchup. Nobody scored anything in the first quarter. And then besides that, there's just 4 touchdowns in the whole game. 4 touchdowns. So Matthew Stafford went 31 for 45. Had 337 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, got sacked twice. Akers didn't look very explosive in this one. He had 13 rushes for 48 yards, an average of 3.7 yards. Sony Michel had 10 rushes himself, only had 16 yards. So I guess in comparison, he was twice as good. Akers being twice as good as Sony. Sony had an average of 1.3 yards per carry, which was exactly the same as Matthew Stafford. If that tells you anything. 49ers great rush defense. And again, it's just the Cooper Kupp show. Like I mentioned a few weeks ago, and I'll be honest, I made a mistake. And I said that, is Cooper Kupp really that dynamic of a wide receiver, or does Matthew Stafford just have this huge man crush on him and just, looks his way too often? And I was wrong. Yeah. Cooper Kupp's pretty damn good. I mean, you see what he does. He's able to separate from defenders. Matthew Stafford has the accuracy to just drop a dime on him. But then he's able to gain yards after the catch, over and over and over again. And that's something that you really can't measure. There's no combine that's breakaway skill. It's just your yards after catch. And whenever he wasn't free, you have Odell Beckham Jr., an awesome dynamic wide receiver himself. Old Beckham had 11 targets, had 9 catches, 113 yards. Cooper Kupp had 14 targets, 11 catches, 142 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Definitely the MVP of this game. On the other side of the ball, Jimmy Garoppolo, definitely looked like the weakest out of the 4 quarterbacks. He went 16 for 30 for 232 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The running game was not all that great. Eli Mitchell ran the ball 11 times, had 20 yards, no touchdowns. Deebo Samuel Not that much greater. Had 7 rushes for 26 yards, no touchdowns. The receiving side, Debo did have 7 targets for 4 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk, he looked okay. Kittle had a couple catches, got a touchdown. Wasn't involved too much in the passing game. This was yet another game that was decided by a field goal. Matt Gay kicked the game-winning field goal for the Rams, which I believe he did that the week prior to that too. So maybe this is going to be a kicker's duel. So we're going to have the Bengals going to LA to play against the Rams. This is the Rams' home stadium. This is the home field advantage. So it definitely seems like the odds are in the Rams. I mean, they have the better offense, in my opinion. They have a better defense, better special teams, better coaching, better overall team. Their defensive line is probably the scariest in the NFL right now. And they're going to have the home field advantage. Yeah, I'm still going to be rooting for the Bengals because I love an underdog story. Love it. Let's go into some signings from the coaches. So the Broncos signed former Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Now, one of my theories on that is the Broncos desperately want Aaron Rodgers on their roster. They feel like if they add in Aaron Rodgers, he's the missing link to that team. That's just going to make everything click. And bringing in the offensive coordinator that worked with Rodgers maybe is a little incentive for Rodgers to come over there. But who knows? And then the Bears, on the opposite, ironically, signed former Packers quarterback coach / passing game coordinator Luke Getsy. Now, obviously, the Bears have no interest in bringing Rodgers to Chicago. That would just be really, really weird. But it seems like they want to bring some of that game knowledge that Aaron Rodgers has, because Luke Getsy worked with Aaron Rodgers, I believe, for 3 years. So he definitely got inside of his head, and hopefully he can transfer that information over to Justin Fields and improve his game and have an awesome sophomore year. So a question for the 49ers now is, will Jimmy G be their quarterback next season? And I am thinking no, that would not be the case. Jimmy G is going to cost the team $27 million next season if they want to keep him. Joey Bosa's contract is going to be up after next season, so I think that they need to start saving money because he's definitely going to be an expensive player if they want to keep. And he deserves it. He's one hell of a defender, and they're getting him super cheap. I think he's getting paid like $800,000. Without incentives, but it is dirt cheap for one of the best defenders in the game right now. And they also have the rookie, they have Trey Lance in the waiting. And how long are you going to leave a first-round draft pick quarterback on the bench? Especially if you don't have like a future Hall of Fame guy as your starter right now. Just Jimmy G. Nothing wrong with Jimmy G. He's not horrible. But, when you're watching these 4 quarterbacks play, you can definitely see who's throwing those wild passes as he's falling to the ground. That was only Jimmy. And then we go to Aaron Rodgers. What's going to happen? Is he going to follow his offensive coordinator and go to the Broncos? Is he going to play for another team because he vowed to never play for Green Bay again? Or is he going to stay loyal to his team and his fans and just stick it out because he knows, hey, this team is good. We've made it to the playoffs pretty much every season. So we got a good thing going here. Maybe I won't find a better team out there. Only time will tell. And we got the Washington football team they vowed to change their name because they had, an insensitive name. And I think we've all just kind of gotten used to calling them the Washington football team now. These are their top options right now. Is Armada, so the Washington Armada, or Brigade. They have Commanders, Defenders, presidents. So it seems like they're trying to accommodate like a military name or just something American like presidents, which is kind of funny. The Washington Presidents as a football team. Like, you scared of George Bush and George Washington out there and Abraham Lincoln? And then on the opposite, they have Red Hogs. So they can be a military name or they could be a Red Hog, which is like, okay. Now Houston wants to interview Brian Flores for their head coaching position, which is kind of ironic because, you know, they have Deshaun Watson, right? And then there was the rape allegations from the masseuses, and they decided to sit him out the entire season. They were trying to trade him, and nobody was offering what they wanted for him, obviously because he's a huge risk of never playing the football again. And you could be wasting 2 first-round draft picks on the guy. And now they're saying, no, we're not trading Deshaun Watson for anything. No way we're trading him. And there's rumors that Deshaun Watson will follow Brian Flores. Whatever team he goes to, he will follow him and try to be their starting quarterback. So now Houston is interviewing with Brian Flores. So maybe they're trying to patch up their relationship with Deshaun Watson for, sitting him out the whole season. Because honestly, we don't know if he did these things that he's being accused of. We're hoping he didn't. But he has sat out a whole season, so he's being punished regardless. And then the big news of the week, because it's been going, we've been hearing flip-flop news. He's retiring, he's not retiring, he's retiring, he's not retiring. But now it is official. As of February, Tom Brady has finally retired from the NFL after 22 seasons. Too much you can't say about the guy. I mean, he's got 7 Super Bowl wins. He's got 3 MVPs. He holds the most records in the NFL, especially by quarterbacks. Like, he's got passing yards, touchdowns, like first downs. It's just a ridiculous amount. Like, wins, Super Bowl wins, like any freaking stat you can think of. Like, Brady is top 5 in. And to do this at age 44 and still be in the playoffs. And, he looked a little older this season, but he also was missing some offensive weapons. So that leaves a giant gapping hole in the Buccaneers offense. And now that I'm thinking about it, if Aaron Rodgers does want to leave, Green Bay wanted to leave the not the NFC, but our division. I mean, he can go play for Tampa Bay. They're set up to win now. I mean, they have wide receivers. I don't think Kronk is going to stick around for Aaron Rodgers because, he's a fanboy of Brady, but I don't think Kronk was really the moving piece, especially giving his age as well. But Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, some damn good wide receivers that he can appreciate. And one heck of a defense, too. Can you picture, like, Bruce Arians with Aaron Rodgers? That'd be a nice combo, I think. That could be a fun season, too. Let's see if the Bucs are that fortunate enough to go from, like, Brady to Aaron Rodgers in back-to-back seasons like that. All right, that is all I got for you this week. Mark will be with us next week. Figure what we're talking about because next week we got the Pro Bowl, and that's just a game that you get to watch your favorite fantasy players. If you have Jonathan Taylor, you can watch him run a little bit, but these guys, they don't want to get hurt because they do get incentives in this game, but the incentive is not as good as an actual contract in the NFL, and if you're hurt, it's kind of hard to sign that contract. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.